Hi, everybody. It's Marti MacGibbon with...
You're listening to the Pure Motive Radio Network. You can reach us at puremotiveinc.com. That's puremotiveinc.com. And find us on Facebook. Simply look for Pure Motive Radio and like us because we like you. Now get ready and fasten your seatbelts because you're going to go on the ride of your life with Marti MacGibbon's Kickass Personal Transformation. Kickass Personal Transformation is a high-octane recovery talk show that provides you with tools you can use to maintain life balance, a sense of humor, motivation techniques, and messages of inspiration while creating and enjoying a new lifestyle in recovery. Guests on Marti's show are nationally headlining comedians with national TV credits, addiction treatment industry professionals, best-selling authors who write about addiction and recovery, thought leaders, along with health and wellness experts. The show is fast-paced, fun, and informative, and the show provides entertainment, education, and a discussion forum for people in recovery from addiction, or anyone who is involved with someone in recovery, or anyone interested in self-empowerment and personal development. During the show, call in and speak live with Marti. Dial toll-free 855-235-3451. Again, that number is 855-235-3451. If you're listening through your computer, smartphone, or tablet, you can chat live with Marti during the show. Simply scroll to the bottom of your browser and launch the chat room. And now your journey is about to begin on the Kickass Personal Transformation Show. Ladies and gentlemen, here is your host, Marti MacGibbon.
Hi, everybody. It's Marti MacGibbon, the host of Kickass Personal Transformation. And, man, we've been having a lot of fun. Last week we had the fabulous Karen Rontowski, who is a comedian, a ghost hunter, and a Reiki master, and a bunch of other stuff. It was really, really a lot of fun. And this week I am so stoked because we have Bob Tyler. He is so amazing. I know Bob, and I'm a huge admirer of his. This man, hi, Bob. Thank you for being here with us.
Hi, Marti.
Say hi.
Awesome. Great to be here.
Bob is a leader in the field of addiction treatment, and he is not only is he a leader in treatment models and addiction studies, but he's also he has been president of the California Association of Alcohol and Drug Abuse Counselors, and he currently is the treasurer of the California Foundation for the Advancement of Addiction Professionals. Bob has a Bachelor of Arts from Loyola Marymount. Isn't that right, Bob?
Yes.
Yes.
In psychology.
And he in psychology, yes, the BA in psychology, and he graduated with huge honors. Wasn't that magna cum laude or something like that?
Don't shortchange me. It was actually summa cum laude.
Summa! Oh my gosh! Well, it's a good thing I asked. Okay, summa cum laude. All right, and Bob is a CADC II. He has the international CADC. He's been working in recovery since 1990, and he has been director of operations and clinical services at Twin Town Treatment Centers, which is it's an amazing chain of treatment centers in the Los Angeles area. And I personally, and I know Bob because he was good enough to, he allowed me to intern with him when I was working on my certification, and I'm really grateful for that. And that's when I found out that it's just he lives it. he walks the walk and talks the talk, and he is the real recovery man, and in every way. And I'm so grateful to have Bob Tyler as part of our recovery community globally, and I'm even more stoked to have him on my show. And let me say, he is author of an award-winning book, the EVVY Award, first place for his book, Enough Already, A Guide to Recovery from Alcohol and Drug Addiction. And also he does a kick-ass video presentation about craving and relapse that is just amazing. And he's still on faculty at Loyola Marymount University, and he's a frequent lecturer at universities and conferences. So that's some of the props about Bob, but it goes on and on. And we could talk about how amazing Bob is, but he's here with us, so I want to just let him talk to you people. And believe me, you can talk back. I checked with Bob. It's okay if you call in. You can do that. He's fantastic, and you can scroll down and chat with us too. So let's go. Let's start. Bob, tell us about what you're doing. It's so exciting. Tell our listeners about your latest move, what you're doing.
Okay, well, I'd love to, and I'm just so honored and thrilled to be on your show, Marty, and I'm just really proud of all you're doing in your career, and it's just great to see, so I'm glad that I get to be part of it, and thanks for all your kind words. Wow, that's pretty awesome. I appreciate it. Yeah, so here's what I'm doing. I left Twin Town after 14 years, and for the purpose of pursuing this mission that I've had for quite some time, that I wasn't able to pursue full on while we're having a full-time job, which is to help people get sober who can't afford rehab. So, and that's why I wrote this book, Enough Already, A Guide to Recovery from Alcohol and Drug Addiction. And so that is my pursuit right now, to help people and that can't afford it. Because as you know, and we've talked about this, Marty, sometimes I work for a private for-profit. And if they can't afford treatment, they don't have insurance or anything, the best I can do is and anybody else is to send them in to county-funded programs. They're all full with at least month-long waiting lists, if not longer. And when I'm given that kind of a referral, I know these people aren't getting in. I mean, there's not that many junkies or alcoholics or otherwise that are going to, do what they have to do to keep moving up, a waiting list, like calling every day. So it's just a really empty referral. And the other thing is, it's not enough just to give somebody just a referral to AA. Here's AA, call them, find a meeting, or even tell them about a meeting without further instruction. And so that's why I wrote the book to begin with.
I love it. And then the book is wonderful. I have read the book, and thank you, Bob, for sending me a copy of the book. And it's wonderful. And I was thinking when I was reading, and I have 18 years of recovery, and as I was reading, I thought, oh, I would love to have had this book during my first week, because I'm one of those people. I had no money. I had a very low bottom. And when I was desperate to get help, and when I called some county facilities, and they had waiting lists of 6 months to a year, and I knew I would be dead if I tried to hang on. And so I struck out on my own, and, of course, I knew about 12 steps. So I had 12-step, and thank God that I did. I was able to do that, and I got as much education as I could about the disease, and there's not a lot out there, or there wasn't 18 years ago, but and there weren't cool radio shows like this where people like you can come on and talk, and we can hear you. So anyway, that I was just floored by how effective this book is and how valuable it is. And it's a guidebook. It's like if I were going to climb Mount Everest, which is kind of like entering into recovery, it feels like you're going to climb Mount Everest, I would want to have this book as my Sherpa's. It's got it all, and it's easy to understand.
Thanks, Marty. You know, it's interesting. In writing it took me about a year to write the original draft, and then I really spent literally 4 more years editing it down to be a really easy read. Got rid of all the clinical jargon, so even like somebody half schnockered could understand it when they're reading. You know, and we really do. And you know what's ironic about that is I spent all that time getting rid of the clinical jargon and making it an easy read, and it ended up missing its intended target. It actually got in the hands of people in alcohol and drug studies programs. There's about a dozen colleges using it as a required text. And, you know, I was thinking, well, that's a good way for word to get out. Now, it's really neat that those counselors are actually teaching people out of the book, but that's in treatment programs, and it did not get in the hands of people who can't afford rehab, which was the intended target to begin with. And I'm like really thrilled that that's how the book rubs you, is that you wish you would have had that because you went straight through the 12-step route. You know, Marty, I think I might have told you this. I went to my first CA meeting. And my wife kind of dragged me by the ear. And I remember sitting in there listening, and I'm like, well, you know, this is all well and good, but I'm going to need way more than this. And then, so I didn't go back. I did 2 more years of painful, we'll call it research, if you will, before my wife actually left me. And then I got into rehab. And so my insurance company paid about, this is back when they used to pay for inpatient treatment before managed care. And by the way, I celebrated 25 years of sobriety last month, so I don't know if I told you that, but I'm really thrilled about that. Thank you. So you know, my insurance company paid $15,000. I got some really good information. I got a little bit of a basis, you know, in recovery before I got out. But what was the most important information that my insurance company paid that $15,000 for is how to use the free community resources of 12-step to treat the chronic nature of my disease. So that's the information that I wanted to put in the book and other stuff, you know, that you get when you actually go into rehab.
Yes, that's it, because the resources are there.
Yeah.
We just need to know how to use them.
Crazy, because so many people do the same thing as I did when they can't afford treatment. Do you know it takes somebody 7 years to make a phone call after they realize that they have a problem with alcohol and drugs? 7 years, Marty. So, and how many years of use does it take for you to actually see that you have a problem? So people sometimes are using for decades, and they finally call us, and the best we can do is send them into recovery limbo somewhere on a waiting list. I mean, it's really discriminatory, actually. It's like, we're only going to help people who can afford it, you know?
Right. It's a failure on the part of them.
Yeah. So that's my passion. That's my mission. I've been toying with the idea of doing a recovery checklist, you know, on this book. And since I left that job and, you know, kind of went out on my own, I've been able to finish that up, and I'm really proud of that. And I think that's, you know, because go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, can you tell us, go ahead and finish what you're saying, but sometime in this hour, please tell us more about the sobriety checklist. That sounds really interesting. I will.
Yeah, and, you know, I think, you know, even though I spent so much time making it an easy read, you know, and I even had this getting started chapter, I just think people in early recovery, you know, if they read the book, it's just so much information. It's like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so I thought with the sobriety checklist, people could actually really, you know, they just have the guidance that they need. And so here, I'll tell you about it now. So here's what I did. What I did was I have 1 page of instructions on how to use it, just so it's like so easy to use. And then there's a reading list, which is chapter by chapter in Enough Already, by chapter in the Big Book, chapter by chapter in the 12 and 12, you know, 12 Steps, 12 Traditions.
Excellent.
I know, and you guys are probably like, who does he think he is? He's going to put Enough Already in front of the Big Book. Well, the fact is that Enough Already has very specific instructions on what the idea here is to just like, let's get them started going to meetings and know what they're supposed to be doing at meetings, you know, and all that. And so that's the thinking behind that. And then the next page of the checklist is like really easy. So, you know, imagine somebody, they're in early recovery, and they don't know exactly what to do. So here's the first thing: you call AA. And I have resources in the book now. Actually, I added an appendix with resources. So even if they didn't have the ability, like look it up in the yellow pages, I have an 800 number so they can actually call AA or NA or whatever program they want. So they make the phone calls. They get a meeting scheduled. That's the next check. Then they go to their first meeting. That's the next check. Then they got a meeting directory at the meeting. Check that off. They scheduled their weekly meetings. Check. They got a phone list. Check. They got a welcome chip, check. They got a big book, check. They made their first phone call, all the way down. And then what I did, Marty, was in the margin, I put where in the book you find out how to do each of those items. So the first chapter in the book is, what is the disease model of addiction? Why do we look at addicts and alcoholics as being sick people trying to get well rather than bad people trying to get good? And then the second chapter is the ingredients for recovery. And then right after that is like a master list of ingredients. And right there is where I put the checklist. And then what I did was I took the getting started chapter, which was way toward the end of the book, and I moved it up to chapter 3. So the person can be reading the getting started chapter while getting started on this checklist. And then, the next page is a place to mark off 90 meetings, a place to check off 90 phone calls, a place to check off 20 phone numbers that you've received, and then finally the last page is tracking your sobriety chips and your step work with the sponsor. So it's pretty complete. It's pretty easy. And the goal was that somebody, who is just starting out in recovery could just read a couple chapters in this book and actually get started in the recovery right away.
That's
so
perfect.
I'm looking at the checklist here, and we put the link on the Pure Motive Radio website, but if you could tell us the link again quickly.
The link for
the sobriety checklist?
Yeah. Oh, well, actually, the link for my website is www.bobtyler.net.
Okay.
Now,
I was looking at the checklist, and one thing that stood out was wrote a goodbye letter.
Yes.
Wrote a goodbye letter to who?
To the drug of choice.
To your drug of choice. Don't you know that, Steve?
Yeah.
I do. I wrote one, actually.
Steve, you need to read the book.
Well, what's cool about it, Steve, is you don't even need to ask me, because you can just go to the column right there where it says what page number you can read about what writing a goodbye letter is about.
Right, 105.
Yeah, and in fact, I actually have a kind of a rehash of what I put in my letter. And my drug of choice was crack cocaine, and so this will sound a little sexist, but I did start it as Dear Candy, and basically, it was fun.
Yeah.
We had a great time, and you were always there for me through thick and thin. But you turned on me.
Yeah.
And I never want to see you rear your ugly head again, and I know you will. But, I have a support system now, and I have a higher power that's going to stand in front of me. So when you make your advances, I'm going to step aside so they can kick your ass.
That's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good letter. Yeah.
Thank you.
Also, and I like the candy.
Yeah, you like that?
I like the idea. Well, yeah, except that now there's Candy Crush too, so people can use this book to help them get off the Candy Crush game, right? Isn't that the game that everybody's addicted to now? It's also
I'm sorry?
Candy Crush. I said there's a game now that people are getting addicted to called Candy Crush. So this book could actually be used. It could actually be used. They could, yeah. I think she has a sister. I think Nose Candy has a sister named Candy Crush, is what I'm saying. I think they might be twins. I was trying to think while you were doing the candy thing. I thought, I was addicted. My thing was meth. At the end, I started with Coke and then went to meth. So I don't know. mine. I can't to write to mine. I'm trying to think of a male name, and I was thinking, well, crystal meth, Chris, but my husband's name is Chris. I can't write a goodbye letter to a Chris. I'll have to think of something else.
Yeah.
So.
Just watch Breaking Bad, and I'm sure they'll have some kind of male slang in there.
Yeah. Well, with Breaking Bad, it'd be, all right, bitches, I'm out of here. If you've ever watched the show, Jesse's goodbye letter. That's for Breaking Bad fans. I was one. So I'm looking here, too. I like on your checklist, I like the way you're cross-referencing. You, just as you were saying, there are readings, and it's coupled with the 12 and 12 and the big book too. And then you have charts, right, with meetings. It's kind of like a journal. It's kind of like a how-to and a journal and a checklist and everything all rolled into one, right? An action plan.
Yeah.
It's a template for an action plan, which is really nice, because when you start out in recovery, you're not real organized, and you really do need a detailed guide like this.
Yeah, and what's great too is being able to see progress. I mean, when we're in the midst of our addiction, we're just such flakes and such procrastinators, and just making the phone call to AA, check. Go to your first meeting, another check. And if you do what's recommended at that first meeting, getting a big book, getting a phone list, getting a meeting directory, there's like 3 more of them. So like right off the bat, people can really see that they're making progress and they're doing the deal. And then it even shows, what to do next. So the other aspect of the book that I didn't bring up was that, and this is really valuable, I think, because I come from it from both personal and professional perspectives. I've been sober 25 years, but I've also been working in the profession for 23 years. So what I do in the book is, using regular type, I teach the information. And then in italics, I share how I've used it in my own recovery and how I've used it and worked with clients over the years. So it's very, very practical. It has, practical application in there, so that it's just so easy to follow and so easy to read. And it's
interactive. That's the other thing I love about that, Bob, about how you have the italics running with it, is that when you're new in recovery and you read things, well, I did. I'm only saying me, but I've gotten this feedback from other people too. You read these things and you think, well, wait a minute, has he done this? And sometimes it's just an expert that's telling you something, and you're the guy, and you know what I mean, and you're in recovery, and you're like, wait a minute. But with you, the reader knows that you've gone down this road. So it really is like having a Sherpa. It's somebody that's climbed Mount Everest and has these directions, there has the suggestions, and I know that you've been down this road because you have the additional stuff in italics, and you're telling about your experience as well. You've done this and you've had success. So it's kind of like you're walking with a friend who's been there, that's there with you, like a spotter. It's wonderful. Yeah. And I think that's going to be a big plus for a lot of people early in recovery. Because do you remember that, Steve, when you were in early recovery? Well, I'm still kind of that way. I pay more attention when I know to what somebody's saying, when I know that they've actually been in recovery too. It makes it gives it special credence for me. And, I don't mean to be a recovery snob and say, well, hey, if my therapist isn't in recovery, well, screw her, because I have a great therapist and she's not in recovery, but she's great. But like with Bob, I know he's been there. Oh, that means so much, because he's a brilliant clinician, and he's
could relate.
There, so. So I think that's really that was genius, coming up with that.
Right on. Well, thanks. I do try to connect with the reader. In the introduction, I share the what happened. Like in AA, when we're at the podium, we talk about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. Well, the intro is actually the what happened in my story, and I actually had it in a different section of the book, and somebody was just so captivated by that. Oh, you got to start the book with that; it'll just draw the reader right in. And I think it's kind of worked that way because they feel somewhat of a connection right from the beginning. Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Now, when is the book released onto the market? Where can we buy this book? Where can we find this book?
Yeah, Marty, I actually just looked last night. There's a couple ways. One is at bobtyler.net, and then the order would come directly to me, and we'll get it shipped out. And the other way is through either Amazon.com or Barnes & Noble. But I looked, and Amazon hasn't updated yet so they sold out of the old book, and they haven't put the new one on there yet. But I did see that Barnes & Noble has. Barnes & Noble does have the new book. So those are the two ways.
So if we want to buy it tonight,
right now.
Tonight we buy it at Barnes & Noble, and then we look around on Amazon, but we can also go to your site. So, right?
Yeah, you said if you purchase it today, I'll have it in the mail to you tomorrow if you go to bobtyler.net.
That's wonderful. Then
there's also some cool stuff on the... You know, Marty, there's also some cool things on that website, too. There's excerpts of the DVD on there. There's an excerpt of, there's a news section where I was on I actually was on the Tonight Show, or not the Tonight Show, the Today Show. We were looking at one of those rants from Charlie Sheen. NBC wanted me and this other guy, a psychologist, to give our impressions of what we were seeing in one of these rants. It was a trip. It was so interesting. That guy was a maniac.
That's good. I want to see that. But I love your website. I'm there now. And I'm going to watch your Charlie Sheen impressions. No, that's not right. Your impression of Charlie Sheen. There's a big difference. Right? Am I right?
Yeah. You can probably do the impression, you know.
Right. So they said, Bob Tyler, what is your impression of the Charlie Sheen? I got tiger blood. Yeah, how's that?
Winning. There's my impression. Yeah. Winning. Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's good. This is I love this website. You know what I love on the website on your homepage? You have the sign, next exit recovery, and there's an arrow. When I first got into recovery, what I felt like was that my addiction had been driving the car, toward a cliff, and I had been locked up in the trunk, duct taped and bound and gagged, and then my real self was in the trunk, and my addiction was driving. And when I got out, it was like somehow I got out of the trunk, and I had to get out of the duct tape and the gag, and get myself straightened out, and then I walked. I was trying to walk back to, hey, where was I? And I just followed the signs. And that's the way I thought of it, is I was following these signs. So I love this because that's exactly how it is. It's like we have the signs to get to it, and it's, at the same time, the road is being built. Isn't that right? I mean, our brain is like a rutted gravel road when we get into early in recovery, because we're having to rebuild. And we have these signposts. I like that you have this. I see on your website that you have this in Spanish as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So
it's called Basta Ya.
Basta Ya. That's wonderful.
Isn't that a nice sassy title?
I like it a lot. Yeah, everybody go to this website. Oh, he's got sobriety next exit. Oh, you got a slideshow. This is wonderful. This is a great website. Why not just order the book directly from the website? And the DVD I highly recommend. It's wonderful. And I'm going to have a screening party when I get back to Indianapolis in May. Hey, everybody, I'm going to be in Indianapolis in May. I have to have all my listeners come over to the show. So I have to pop popcorn and watch.
Neat. You know, unfortunately, the DVD is not priced for individual use. It's actually priced for treatment centers to show.
Well, that's why I'm going to have a screening party at my house. I wasn't kidding. When I get back to Indianapolis, I'm going to have people come over and watch it because I own a copy. All right. So, let's talk about your mission with reaching people who have no financial resources but need recovery. Can we talk about that? Because I read your mission statement, and you are talking about reaching people through the emergency rooms, which is to me is just is perfect, because if you that's where they get all the statistics on addiction, is from emergency room admissions anyway, right? Isn't that where that's where when they know that prescription drugs are the number one addiction right now, they know that because of the emergency room admission. So how many of us go through the emergency room?
Yeah, well, I don't know those numbers, but what happened was recognizing that so many people end up in the emergency rooms. I've heard numbers like upwards of 60 to 80% of emergency room admissions are due to alcohol and drug-related issues. And so what happened was they have a federal mandate. It's called SBIRT. It's an acronym for Screening and Brief Intervention and Referral to Treatment. So everybody that goes through ER is supposed to get this screening if there's like anything suspected. And so, in fact, they might need to do it just like for everybody anyway. Just if there's any just to see if there's any drug and alcohol problem going on. And so, but let's say, person goes into ER, they don't have insurance, they don't have money to pay for treatment. What are they going to do? They're going to do the same thing that I just described. They're going to send them to a county-funded program, or they're going to give them a phone number for AA, and that's just not enough. So I really think that the book is just a perfect tool for them, and it's they don't even. I mean, if they identify the issues, they could just give them the book, which would be great. But
I think that's a great idea. They need to do that, and nurses and doctors don't really know that much about addiction at this time. I mean, we're working on them, but they still don't know, and sometimes they have. Sadly, I mean, sometimes people. I've heard that in emergency rooms, so there'll be sometimes people say, get that dirty drug addict out of here. Just get them out in the park. I mean, really, because there's still, this exists, and we're working on it, and it's gotten a loads better, but it still happens. And to have this, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, what about people that have 5150s? Because there are a lot of people with addiction who end up having a 5150 and going to a psych ward. And I was one of them. I went in a psych ward. I had a 5150. I had methamphetamine psychosis in San Francisco, and they didn't. There are a lot of things they could have done for me, and I would have responded. I could have been an intervention, but nothing was done. It was just I just could hardly wait to get out of there, get out of that crisis center, and when I got out, I just went back and. I think I called somebody that was a drug user that came to pick me up and give me a ride back, and he had drugs on him. And, I went right back to it. But if I had some kind of an intervention, how many? I mean, don't you think am I the only one, you guys? I just said this over the radio that I had a 5150. People, it happens. But I mean, there. Now I'm click. Everybody's off the air yes, Marty's crazy. But I mean, I'm joking, but I believe in being candid. I mean, we're here and it's us, and we're talking about recovery. But I think this does happen, and I know from being from working in treatment that it happens, and that's another thing. And so many times this happens, and you get dumped back out on the street. You don't have any money. You don't have any insurance. You don't have anywhere to go. You just go back to the same old thing you were doing. And if you're lucky, you survive. And
well, it's so crazy, Marty, because I mean, look at what happened to you. You got so bad that you ended up in a psych ward with methamphetamine psychosis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just discharged. And a dope addict goes and picks you up from rehab.
That was the only way I could get a ride home.
Yeah, nobody gave you a referral, and I mean, no. I don't know if you had insurance or anything like that, but
no,
you should have been discharged.
Insurance. I didn't even have a driver's license.
Yeah,
I didn't have shit.
So
I didn't have anything.
So I mean, it's amazing you didn't end up right back in there. I mean, it's the same with our prisons. I mean, you know, they say. I mean, some prisons, like, you know, I mean, I've heard numbers of like 80% of people that go to prison are due to alcohol and drug related problems. Yet, do they get rehab when they go to prison? No, not usually. I actually had a really cool experience, and later in the show, if we have time, I can talk to you about it. But we actually trained like 50 prisoners in Solano prison to be, and they were lifers. So it was a good investment on your money, right? You train lifers to be counselors, and then you're not going to have a lot of turnover, right? So basically, it was a 50 lifers that they were training to become CAADC counselors. That CAADC is the organization that you had mentioned earlier that I was president of, and
that I'm a member of.
Okay. Yeah, and they were going to treat at 1,000 prisoners at a time, you know, there. So they were actually going to be treating, you know, addiction in prison. It's awesome. Yeah. It actually started at San Quentin, and it was truly, Marty, the most amazing professional experience of my life. So first off, they bought a book for everybody, right? So, you know, I mean, and it was a few weeks before I went there, so they probably read it 3 times by the time I got there, because, you know, there's a lot of time to read it. Right. And so I get there, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great, because anybody that knows me, public speaking-wise, knows that if I talk about something meaningful, I get all teary-eyed and you know, start choking up. Well, I'm thinking I'm going to get in front of these hardened criminals, and I'm going to be like, you know, tearing up and acting like some kind of a wimp, you know, and all these hardened criminals will be going like, get this wuss out of here, you know. So, well, the mystery of whether or not that was going to happen was taken away right away, because I got in front of it was time to start, and by the way, I had 8 hours with these guys. It was awesome. So I get in front of the room, and before I said word one, I started blubbering. I can't even talk. I'm so upset. But when I got my composure, you know, what I said was, you know, what these tears are about is like, but by the grace of God, there go I, because there's like no reason why I shouldn't have been, you know, in that same position that one of those guys are. In fact, there were 2 guys that told me that they actually went into rehab, and when they relapsed, they committed the crime that ended them up in prison for the rest of their life. And how horrendous is that? So anyway, it's going really good.
All the time.
Yeah. So it's going really good, and I get on a roll. But then I start giving examples, you know, because I use practical examples of the information I'm teaching, and so the examples I've given, Marty, are like out there. And so I'm like feeling all guilty. You know, I was talking about, my vision of me on a vacation is floating down the Colorado River with a joint in one hand, cocaine, you know, a Heineken in the other, and cocaine waiting back at the tent, and I'd gladly work 51 weeks out of the year to do that. Well, I was telling these guys this, and I'm like, wait, in my head, I'm like, oh, my God. I'm like talking about floating down the Colorado River, and these guys are in prison for the rest of their life. And so I found myself going, okay, well, you guys will just need to, you know, apply these principles while you're behind bars here in prison. And I started to get all self-conscious and got off my game, and I told the coordinator, I said, you know, I am just like totally self-conscious. I'm off my game. And she says, you know what, you just need to go in there and get honest with those men. So I go in there, I'm blubbering again after the break, and you know, I told them what was going on with me, and one guy said, Mr. Tyler, you're doing great, we just appreciate your honesty, your sincerity, and all this. Somebody else said a similar thing, and then another dude told me, he says, you know, Bob, when you were talking about floating down the Colorado River, where I grew up, we had a river that ran straight right in front of my house, and so when you said that, it actually brought me home for a minute. And it was just like, so what I realized at that point was I was like bringing these guys a gift, you know, talking about.
Yeah, you were.
You know? And so, okay, so these guys are coming up like at the break, you know, every tell me to shut up if I'm foaming at the mouth too much.
No, this is great.
So then these guys are coming up at the break, you know, and they're shaking my hand. Thank you so much, Mr. Tyler, and having me sign their book. Well, on this one section, I talk about, because in the book I also talk about coping with emotions in recovery, and in one of the sections of the self-esteem section where I do some self-disclosure about the source of my own low self-esteem before I get into the self-esteem building techniques in the book.
Right.
And I talk about how my dad lined me and my brothers up. I was the oldest of 4, and I'm like 10. And he lined us up and said what he thought we'd be when we grew up. So one was going to be a doctor, another was going to be a lawyer, another was going to be a trash collector, and he got to me and saying he thought I'd be a trash collector. It's like, what's a 10-year-old boy supposed to do with this information, right? So, the picture I painted is my dad doesn't love me, I'll never amount to anything,
Right.
Well, so I do that part, and so at one of the breaks, this guy who I sat and had lunch with, who disclosed to me that he's in jail for murder 1 and he's never getting out, he comes up to me to have his book signed, and he hands me a 3x5 card. And in this beautiful calligraphy-style writing, it says, I am a trash collector. I'm like, oh, crap. This dude actually is a trash collector, and I just insulted him. And he's a murderer! So, and then he says, no, turn the card over. And I turn it over, and it says, well, it turns out your dad was right. You are a trash collector of sorts. You pull people out of the gutter, you clean them up, and you polish them until they shine like a collector's item.
Wow.
And I just lost it again. I have that card. I'm framing it, and and so at the end, So at the end, I was just, these guys gave me a standing O, and I mean, it was just truly the most amazing experience of my life as far as professionally goes. And I got to fly up. I flew up on my own dime to just go see these guys' graduation, and
of course.
Thanks for letting me share that with you.
That's great. And the thing is, when you were talking about this, about getting self-conscious, because I did stand-up comedy in a prison. I had a similar experience. And actually now it's a really great. It's a part of my stand-up comedy act, and it kills. It gets laughs. But I mean, I had something like that in prison where I got self-conscious, and then just got honest and was just myself, and then it worked great. And they were so supportive. It's amazing how we start to where there's this barrier, and there are these bars, and they build this giant building and this prison to hold these people in. And it's not just the building that's the prison, that it's the whole barrier and the stigma and everything, that there's the outside and the inside. And it's amazing how we even find these divisions with our own, where we're thinking, oh, I can't communicate to these guys because I'm talking about stuff from outside. Well, heck, they've been outside, so they know. You know what I mean? So there really is no barrier because we're people, and we all have the same thing. So that was so powerful that you took him home, by talking about the river, and you were feeling guilty about talking about something that was outside, but. That was very beautiful, and I love your passion for bringing recovery to everyone. I just feel like, I don't know if I'm trying to think that I thought, oh my gosh, he's like the Gandhi of recovery, or the Nelson Mandela, or something, some kind of. I was trying to think of somebody like, or the Johnny Appleseed of recovery. It's something, Bob. I'll come up with something.
but Marty, it's like, but look, like, am I nuts here though, Marty? Because check that. I so much appreciate your kind words. But you know what? It's like, am I crazy here? Okay, look, we have a multi-billion-dollar healthcare issue, right? I mean, if you take the statistic I just looked at, if you take away cigarettes and you're just left with illicit drugs and alcohol, there's basically 9% of people 12 and older use some sort of illicit drug. 1 of those people get help. So basically, you're looking at 1 in 10 people who need help get it. I was doing some lobbying in D.C., and Ted Kennedy's son, Patrick Kennedy, they're trying to get this parity bill through. And he said that 2 in 10 who seek help ever get it. So wait, 1 in 10 who need it get it. 2 in 10 who seek it get it. Yet, and here, am I crazy here? Yet, We have free help in the form of 12-step in every community at multiple times a day. It's like, is it just me? Or shouldn't we be like teaching people who can't afford rehab how to use the free community resources so they can get sober, so they don't have to mess with a doggone, waiting list. They don't have to go blindly into a 12-step meeting. That we just, it's crazy. And I actually just sent out a blast. I have my email list that I have, and I created this 2-minute drill. And the 2-minute drill is for people who receive calls. They receive calls.
2-minute drill.
You like that? Yeah.
I'm on your list. I'm on your mailing list.
Nice. And you know what? I would invite any of your callers, Marty, if any of your callers would like to get on my mailing list. It's my email address is staysober@bobtyler.net, and because I'm going to be having some free resources on the internet. I'm going to be doing some free webinars for people who can't afford it, and I'm going at this full bar. But anyway, the 2-minute drill is people who get that call and send people to. Yeah, they send
let's
people
take a
to
moment
that,
here and make sure. Hold on, Bob. Just take a moment.
Okay.
Let's say it again. Let's get this again for this, because this is wonderful. I signed up for your list a few weeks ago, and it's wonderful. And so let's go again. Say it to us again.
It's staysober.
Staysober.
Tyler.net. So,
and Tyler is Tyler, right?
Yes. .net.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's good. staysober@bobtyler.net. The book, well, we're not done yet, but I just want to say it 3 times during this show. And the book is Enough Already, and it's Basta Ya if you're hablando español. And you're going to tell us where to get it tonight at Barnes & Noble. I think Amazon's going to catch up, and you can also go to your website, staysober@bobtyler.net. And
no, the website is just bobtyler.net. Yeah, the website is just the bobtyler.net part.
Oh, now see how the host messed everything up. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been trying. All right, let's keep rolling. Keep on going. I don't want to interrupt your flow. But sign up, people.
Yeah. So the 2-minute drill is just it's so simple. It's so people who get calls from people who need help, it's you don't just give them the phone number for 12-step. You say, hey, can you go to a meeting tonight or tomorrow? And then you give them a specific meeting, and then you tell them when they get to the meeting, get a meeting directory, and then schedule your weekly meetings. Go to 90 meetings in every day, and if that seems too much to you, at least go to 4 or 5 a week. And if you can't do that, well, if you relapse, then take my suggestion. And then when you go there, also get a phone list. Call another member of the program every single day, and then as soon as you can muster up enough courage, share in the group that you're an alcoholic or an addict. And somebody told me that if I share, you guys will rally around me and help me stay sober. And that's all I got to share if they're not comfortable sharing anything else. And just that simple stuff, that didn't take me even 2 minutes. Rather than just giving the phone number for 12-step, we actually give them a little bit of feedback on how to do it. So that's what the 2-minute drill is. And then if the call receiver wants to really help even more in that situation, says, and call me tomorrow and let me know how the meeting went. But again, just give it a straight referral. It's just not enough.
One thing, a different aspect of this, which is very interesting to me, is just looking at your book and the checklist. This is a great tool for people that are sponsoring, for helping other people out, because you could get a sponsee and you're not really qualified and may not know what to do. This is a good resource to kind of lay out the steps on how you could help someone else out.
Thanks, Steve. I totally agree with that. And I know that sponsors do use that with their sponsees. It's a very organized way of getting them started, and they can even, provide them, assignments like, okay, I want you to get this far on the checklist, or these are the readings that I want you to do. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm going to get books for my sponsees, and my sponsee, they have sponsees, so that we get this rolling. It's an excellent resource.
So I do want to let you know, just a time check here, we have about 8 minutes left, and I just wanted to let you know that. So.
Okay. Well, good. With this 8 minutes that's left, Steve, stay on with us if you want to, but I just want to repeat again how we get the book. I mean, before we end this, so we might as well say it again now. Where can people get the book again, and to get a hold of Bob? Tell us again, Bob.
Okay, so probably the quickest way is just at www.bobtyler.net. So just my name, .net, bobtyler.net.
Okay.
And you can just go up to there's a tab at the top that says Our Store, and you just get it that way, and pay for it via PayPal.
Perfect.
And so then the other one is that Barnes & Noble, also you can order from them right away. And then Amazon, they should in the next week or two have it on there as well.
Okay, that's great. And now, are you going to have an ebook, or is that going to be in the mix? Is there probably people in early recovery with no money are not going to have a Kindle Fire to put up your book on. But I was just
haven't actually done that. I am actually in the process of getting the e-copies going too, but I don't have those in place yet. But
there's no hurry.
I will be doing that. Yeah.
There's no hurry on that anyway, though, because if you're in recovery and you've got no money, even in early recovery, you need a book, a physical book, I think. Don't you, Steve? I mean, even if somebody has a Kindle, I mean, why not have a book you can carry around to meetings and have it write in the margins and
I like paper books.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Marty. The other thing about getting on my mailing list is there, and this would be for sponsors as well to help their sponsees is I am going to open up a private practice where people local here to Long Beach can get one-on-one counseling and some group counseling, and I'm also going to be doing that via Skype as well, and it'll be pretty affordable. But the other thing is that for people who can't even afford that, I'm going to be setting up like a webinar that will be maybe once or twice a week. That people that
that will be good.
afford treatment or even anything, they will have free access to this webinar where I'll be doing some education and some Q&A stuff. It'll be very valuable, and I can do that. I mean, it only takes me an hour and a half to do one of them, and people from all over the country can be coming in and listening into that and getting that kind of help. So via email, I will be announcing that.
So now that's a very important thing to do then is to get on that list, on your mailing list, to know about these webinars. And they're going to be twice a week. This sounds fantastic. So you're going to have webinars twice a week, and you're going to send out blasts to let people know when they are. Now, could it be that somebody could, if somebody was in another country, because we have some people in other countries that outside the U.S. Could they also?
Yes.
I mean, it's Skype, right? So anyone can.
Are they listening to the show right now?
We have a lot of people. We have a lot of people listening in through the browser, and so I don't know if they're in other countries, but we have listeners all over the world, actually.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Well, it is World Wide Web, www. So I would imagine that if I've got it online, that they should be able to get it from all over the world. Yes.
Yeah, because I actually know some people in England who are working. I know one person in England who's working as a counselor. I'm going to send forward your information to, because I think it could be really valuable. Even though we're talking about U.S. stuff, I think some of these webinars could be really good. Now, so you're in California, Bob, and as I am, I'm in California half the year, but I'm in Northern California, and I'm also in Indianapolis half the year. So we have listeners all over the country. But now, are you going to be traveling to treatment facilities? Will you be doing any personal appearances or anything like that? Is that in your playbook, or are you going to pretty much?
Yeah, actually, and that's another thing on the website. You can kind of keep track of the different talks that I'll be doing. I actually am going to be in Boston coming up here in the spring doing the National Social Workers Conference. Like you, your favorite thing to do is like stand up, Marty. Well, I love talking. I love getting and doing education lectures. So that's like my dream is I want to like travel the country and do talks and sell books. In fact, just the other night I just filmed like 4 more DVDs, one on shame, one on self-esteem, one on anger, one on fear and grief, and eventually I'll make those available on the internet for folks who want to listen in on those as well. So that'll be.
Now I'm a speaker though, Bob. I only do stand up I just do stand up a little bit now. I'm a humorous, inspirational speaker, and I am traveling as a speaker, Bob. So
that is awesome.
I love stand-up, but I'm doing, I'm a member of the National Speakers Association, and so I speak on overcoming adversity, so I don't think we'll be competing, but.
Well, you know what? I think we ought to get our spouses with us, and let's just take the show on the road.
Yeah, we could do that. That would be great, fantastic. Yeah. So, This is really exciting. The possibilities are endless, and the beautiful thing about somebody who has no money and that enters into recovery, and there are a lot of us who haven't got enough money to pay for treatment, but we reach successful recovery. We become successful and we become prosperous, and we share what we have with others, and there are so many people. I worked in a facility for homeless veterans, and the place, the alumni, some of them who had been formerly homeless, they became like loaded rich. I mean, filthy rich, and still support the facility that helped them, and support the community and support other vets. And I mean, that's just one example. But if you're listening now and you're in early recovery and you have no money, the sky's the limit, and you can do anything. Sobriety is amazing, the things that happen to us, and we find out that the talents and abilities that we had in addiction or in our alcoholism, we can turn those around to legitimate things and really prosper in this world. And you're starting a movement here. You're I'm not the Nelson. Oh well, I'm going to think of something. You're the something or other. You're the Neil Armstrong of. One giant step, okay? That's it, okay? You're the Neil Armstrong of recovery right now.
I hate to do this.
Mankind.
We have to end the show. It was awesome, though.
It was.
We have to end the show.
Thank you, Bob.
My pleasure. It was really great. Marty, keep up the good work. You are just so great for recovery, and to be able to inspire people and make them laugh. I so much appreciate you, and just keep doing what you're doing. If there's anything I can do to support your efforts, just let me know.
Thank you, Bob.
Hello, friends. This is Steve Thompson, executive producer at Pure Motive Radio. We hope you've enjoyed the Kickass Personal Transformation Show with Marty MacGibbon. And tune in next week, Monday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where Marty will have more of this entertaining, inspirational, motivational program broadcast to you. Kickass Personal Transformation is brought to you by the Pure Motive Radio Network. Hey, check out our website. Simply go to www.puremotiveinc.com. Again, that's puremotiveinc.com. We're also on Facebook. Simply look for Pure Motive Radio and like us because we like you. If you've enjoyed this show, you'll probably like all of the other shows we have. Tune in on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the One-Upper Show, where callers call in with their best stories to one-up each other. Then on Wednesdays, we have the Serenity Sisters Show. They cover all the issues women face in sobriety. It's time to put on your big girl pants